So today I'd like to talk about the diviner and their tools. So I guess the first question becomes, what is a diviner? And a diviner is an intermediary between the world of the seen and the unseen, between man and ancestor, humankind, and the elevated beings. We have three types of beings that manifest in this phenomenal universe around us: mortals, elementals, and eternals. Mortals are beings that they're born, they grow, they reproduce, they die. Every cat and dog, every person, every insect, every microbe is ultimately mortal, even if it has an immortal bloodline like some of the jellyfishes. Throw him in a fire, see how immortal he is. Right? Then we have the elementals. These are the spirits, and whether they're natural spirits or they're elevated spirits, they're spirits, angels, demons, right? The elemental spirits in Western occultism, the salamanders and the gnomes and so on. This is the elemental realm, and they're signified by the fact that they have consciousnesses. Whereas mortals have the life force and a mortal cycle, elementals have a consciousness. They're defined by their consciousness, and that consciousness may or may not occupy solid matter or other spiritual energies like the etheric double, the spirit of an object. And then we have the eternals, God in the case of a Christian viewpoint, the great gods in the case of a pagan standpoint, the mighty powers, but ultimately that which is an eternal force. It lives on, for eternity. And the thing that sets human beings apart is that so differently from so many other things here in this world in which we live, we are simultaneously mortal, elemental, and eternal. We're immortal. We have our mortal lifespan. We're elemental because we are a self-aware consciousness, and we live within a shell that binds all our parts together, which is our spirit, the energy double of our body. Yes, and that vivifies us, and that is a vehicle for the soul and a cocoon for the body. Right? It binds it all together, and we are eternal because we have a soul. Now, with that many irons in the fire, things are bound to happen. And the diviner's job is to act as an intermediary between the worlds of the mortal, the elemental, and the eternal. Like three stones that hold a round bottom cooking pot in place. They're the points of balance for our universe. And the diviner's job is to be the communication point between those portions of the universe. Well, then we talk about the diviner's tools. And in the last lecture, I spoke about ultimately that the diviner is the key, that the apparatus itself is not the key. The apparatus is not the power. The diviner is the one who is the receiver of tremendous things. I mean, universal cosmic powers, the voice of the ancestors, even the voice of randomness, the echo of the effortless darkness. But we are the catalyst, the thing that if you don't put a drop of it in, nothing happens. But when you do, everything happens. Now, do not misunderstand me. The tools themselves can be tremendously powerful and empowered, especially if they are tied to an organized spiritual structure, especially that includes initiation and permissions to divine at certain levels, like Ifa, like Ocha, what some people call Santeria, but it's Ocha or Osha. But in the West, we're scattered all over the place. we've lost touch with so many traditions, and lineages don't tend to exist that go back more than a short distance. Well, the thing to remember is that it's not about your lineage, it's not about your divination apparatus, it's about you and whether you have the diviner's gift. Whether you can be an intermediary between mortal, elemental, and eternal. So the diviner and his tools create a balance. There is a language there. That is the thing that defines any set of divination apparatus. It has its own language. If I'm throwing 4 quarters, they speak the language of heads and tails. And the language of heads and tails is the language of 50-50 balance in the universe. Right? If I'm reading tarot cards, each one has a number and a suit. And if you step outside of the numbers and the suits, then you're talking about things happening on a cosmic level. And see, so there's a language to the diviner's tools. And so the key is the diviner. The catalyst is the diviner, but the diviner must have the appropriate tools. However, if we become dependent on those tools, then we can have our voice taken away from us. We can have our ears taken away from us. We can have our eyes taken away from us. Because without those tools, what do? Therefore, we have to understand that the thing that sets the diviner apart is the capacity to understand, to be that catalyst. And if we limit ourselves, we limit our voice. So we should seek to find a system to work with that has a universality to it. And the beautiful nature of universality is that it thrives in the complex and it thrives in the simple. We say, grasp the simple secrets in a grand way and grasp the grand secrets in a simple way. This helps build understanding and wisdom. The systems of complexity, things like Ifa, there's a system of divination that has to do with figures made of double dots and single dots stacked vertically. And it has to do with the interplay of positive and negative of the 2 balance points of the universe and how they interact. And it exists in a multitude of forms all across the world. In Malagasy, it's Sikiti. In Nigeria, it's Ifa. In Dahomey, it's Fa. The Arab world, it's Al-Ramo. In the Western occult tradition, they just call it geomancy because they focused on the method rather than the meaning. Pretty shy on the Western side. But the thing is that it has this great complexity, starting out as positive and negative, and those double to become the 4 elements, and those double to become the planetary influences, and those double to become the influences of the zodiac and the cross-quarter points of the year, and it continues on through 32 and 64 and 128 to 256 different signs that can fall. It's amazing. It's incredible with this great depth and complexity. And on that side of things, it flourishes if one studies it. Go to the other side of things, and I got a handful of rocks and bones and bits and bobs, and everyone means something to me. And I reach out to the ancestors and I throw down that collection of bones and stones and bits and bobs and oddments. And it paints a picture. Just like the divine reached out with a brush, whew, and it paints a picture. Because it's a language of objects that have inferences that represent aspects of a set. And when it paints that picture, just like you'd look at a picture and go, oh, goldfish. You look at it and you go, oh, anger, jealousy, betrayal, but some serious luck. You know, the spirits have a plan for you. So the diviner and their tool are an intimate couple, but that tool has to thrive in complexity or thrive in simplicity. And it has to have a universality so it can reach out and address any aspect of existence. And therefore, ideally, it should be a microcosm, a miniature model of the universe itself and its workings. But I've probably gone on long enough. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And this will be an ongoing series that will focus first on diviners and divination and later on many other subjects. But may your journey of light and progress be fruitful.